Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Yankees sweep the Kansas City Royals in Kansas City to go 6-0 versus the Royals this season. So sweeps at Yankee Stadium back in April. Then they do it again here in June. Uh, After knocking the Royals off last year in the American League Division Series. So if you're a Royal fan, it's got to be very frustrating to lose this amount to the Yankees. That's now 8 straight going back to the playoffs where they won in that best of 5 in 4, winning 3-1 in that series. And they did well against the Royals last year in the regular season. The Yankees, there's been a lot of success, particularly against that AL Central, right? I mean, we think about the Minnesota Twins, the Royals. I mean, while there have been some pretty epic battles with the Guardians, Yankees have won most of those outings. And so, um, you know, other than the, just because I'm kind of blending it in terms of recency, I'm blending it in terms of playoffs and things like that. The Tigers have been a team that have been a bit problematic for the Yankees in the last, 20 years, and really more so late 2000s, early 2010s, as far as some of those Tigers playoff series. But yeah, I think it's just worth mentioning the fact the Yankees, like, they've had their struggles. They've been extremely mediocre against the American League East, which is not a very good division. I mean, it's probably underachieving this year, I'd say, right? I mean, mostly with the Orioles and to a lesser degree the Red Sox have been disappointments this year. I mean, the Blue Jays lately have been winning like crazy. I don't know if that's sustainable, but right now the Yankees, they improved to 42-25. It's a high watermark of 17 games above 500, and now they sit 5 games up on the loss side ahead of the Toronto Blue Jays for 4.5 games overall. Um, and, it's a really nice response to the fact that the Yankees just lost 2 of 3 home against Boston. And not too long before that, lost a series to the Dodgers. So it's 5 sweeps in the season for the Yankees. They have not been swept as well. Again, I think that's important. 5 sweeps to none in their favor. It's the second road sweep of the season. And again, 2 of the 5 against Kansas City. And if you just take that out of it, right? Let's just say you just remove the 6 games away from Kansas City's schedule, then their record's 34-29, which isn't anything amazing, but in an American League where the wild card race is certainly up for grabs, these losses to the Yankees here could certainly cost the Royals a playoff spot. And I look at their lineup, and that's where they've been exploited. In these Yankee games, it's not so much the Yankees bats that have done anything crazy overall. It is the fact that Yankee pitching has really gotten the best of Kansas City. Kansas City really cannot buy a big hit against the Yanks. It's a matchup in their favor for sure. Um, And what's also nice too is, again, it leads the Yankees into a big series at Fenway Park, looking for a little bit of retribution from the weekend before, and it won't be an easy one. We'll preview that series, but I don't think that is going to be easy. Fenway never is, and I think we'll take a look at some of the pitching matchups, and let's just say some are more favorable than others. Um, but a lot to discuss in this series. Um, Basically great, like I said, great pitching across the board. Max Fried, Clarke Schmidt, and Will Warren. Like that's a huge, huge thing. And the thing is with game 3, the most recent game that had finished, that was a throwaway lineup by the Yankees. It was actually Aaron Judge's first game he didn't start. Now he would come in as a pinch hitter, but Aaron Judge did not start, just a scheduled off day. Jazz Chisholm Jr., due to injury, and he's going to be okay, it sounds like, but he did, he got a bit banged up the first couple of games in the series, more so, I guess, game 2 that held him out for game 3, but he was not in there. DJ LeMahieu, who's been really hot at the plate lately, he did not start either. And ironically, we'll talk about it, is Pablo Reyes is the one that gets the one run for the Yankees in what might be maybe his last game as a Yankee, because it sounds like Giancarlo Stanton is not too far away as far as returning. I would not be shocked if he returns at some point in this series against the Boston Red Sox. Nothing set in stone, but I think it's definitely in play. And so if that does happen, and assuming there's no other injuries, it would appear to be that, you would think that Stanton would take Reyes' spot on the roster. So that's kind of the ironic thing with that. Uh, But I guess keeping it with some injury news, less exciting, but I guess falls under the positive category just for health reasons, is Marcus Stroman. He doesn't seem like he's too far away from returning either. I have no idea what his role will be. There's no way, in my opinion, that could be in the rotation. However, the thing with that is, I suppose if like Ryan Yarbrough was to struggle, that could open up a door for Stroman. I don't want it. I don't agree with it, but that I guess would be the one angle that could be taken. In negative news, Jake Cousins. He was on a rehab assignment. It got shut down. It sounds like he has a UCL injury. So this might be a lost season for Cousins, and we might not see him for some time. Again, nothing has been determined as of yet. But he was someone that, was a bright spot out of the pen last year. And I do think that even though the Yankee bullpen has had its good moments, it's one that, whether it be via injury or whatever else, I do think that they're going to need to improve upon that a little bit, by the trade deadline. And then also on the transaction front, the Yankees actually called up Scott Efros for game 3. They sent down the lefty Brent Hedrick, who had pitched in game 2. Um, I think we'll see Hedrick again. I think that was more to get a fresh arm, and Efros gets the opportunity. Efros has not been good in AAA. His numbers have not been great, but for him, you're hoping if he gets in there, if he can be effective, maybe that keeps him around. Because I feel like, his standing with the organization is certainly not what it was when they acquired him all the way back in fucking 2022. That's kind of the wild thing, is that he has really been hurt for a long time. And he hasn't really gotten his footing since, when they first got him. He was really good from the Chicago Cubs. So I'm rooting for him, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if he kind of goes up and down, similar, let's say, to a Brent Hedrick. But anyway, game 1. Max Fried is the stopper. He is the guy that you want out there. I mean, really, generally, he's the guy you want out there, but after a loss, he gets it done. And the Yankees are coming on a 2-game losing streak. And what does Max Fried do? He gets the win and pitches really well doing so. Picks up his 9th win. And so as far as, Major League Baseball is concerned, he's the only pitcher who has 9 wins. 9-1 with a 1.84 ERA. And as far as that goes, it is, there's a lot of good ERAs in the league. So he's not at the top, but he sits in the top 4 Major League Baseball and sits in like 3rd in the American League. So Fried, again, a sure shot all-star as long as he stays healthy. I think his credentials for starting the game, I think that they still exist as a possibility. But I mean, Tariq Skubal, like, who actually has a worse ERA than Fried. Like, he to me is just like the bona fide best guy. But if you base it on certain metrics, and the fact that what works in Fried's favor is the fact that the All-Star game is in Atlanta. And the fact that Aaron Boone is the manager for the American League squad. So again, that's a much lesser conversation, but Max Fried gets it done. 7 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, no walks, and 4 strikeouts for Max Fried on this evening in Kansas City. For the Royals, it was lefty Noah Cameron, who had actually had really good numbers going in, not necessarily strikeout numbers, although his strikeout numbers of this game were ironically good. But he drops to 2-2, 5 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. For the Yankee lineup, and obviously, look, when Stanton returns, it's going to be a log jam as far as who's in and who's out of the lineup. But for the here and now, the odd man out of this Yankee lineup was Ben Rice. And it's been a rotation, right? It was Ben Rice in game 1. It was Jason Dominguez in game 2. And then game 3, as I already told you, that was kind of a, again, Aaron Judge. For that one, it was essentially Aaron Judge, who was actually odd man out for game 3. But in this one, let's discuss what happens. And in the first inning, Judge homered in games 1 and 2. Just a little sneak preview. And Aaron Judge just hits an absolute missile. 2-run shot. 24th homer of the year, 469 feet, 117.9 miles per hour exit velocity. Just he continues to amaze in a season that's already been just otherworldly. So that puts the Yankees on the board 2-0. Then bottom of the second, bit of a sloppy inning, and it's too bad because with Fried, I wanted to keep that ERA down as low as possible. This one, it goes down as an earned run, but he deserved a better fate. Infield single by Pasquantino, then a single for Sal Perez, a ground out that probably could have been a double play from DJ LeMahieu, but didn't quite get that exchange the way they wanted it to, and so Canna beats it out, and then Jack Caglione gets an RBI ground out. So it's 2-1. So it could have, on the one hand, it could have been worse, but Fried really wasn't hit hard, and it ends up being uh, a situation that the Royals cut it to 2-1. But top of the fourth, Austin Wells had himself quite the game. He's been a lot better lately. And Austin Wells is a major, major storyline in game one here. He puts together a great at bat, an absolutely great at bat. Um, and it leads to a 3-run homer on pitch number 9. Against the lefty as well. He's hitting homers against lefties. I don't believe he had a home run in his career against lefties going into the season. Now I think he has about 5. I mean, he had one off Garrett Crochet the other night, and now does it off of Noah Cameron. His 11th home run, which again is a good mark for Wells in the home run department. That was never really the issue this year. It was the fact that the batting average was low and sort of the walk to strikeout ratio wasn't great, but it's a 2-out rally by the Yankees. And Jason Dominguez, he had 3 hits from the right side. 2 of them were kind of lucky bloopers, but you take them. LeMahieu singles. He had a really good night. He was 2 for 3 with a couple of walks, and a double as well. So DJ really heating up at the plate. But Austin Wells, this was big to make it 5-1. I can't say enough about how impressive an at bat that was from him. Then we go to the top of the 6th, and it's yet again a 5-run inning for the Yankees. They leave this series with 17 5+ run innings this season, which is the most in baseball, and it's really through 66 games, which was the count that it was through the second game of the series. Them having done that 17 times, I think might have been the third most possibly ever or since a certain point where I think it was the Texas Rangers from a couple of years ago, the team that won the World Series. They had like maybe 18. And like the 2000 Colorado Rockies had the most. And of course, Coors Field helps with that. So extremely impressive. The depth. Yeah, and I think that's what it speaks to. The depth in this Yankee lineup has really been mostly very good. Top of the 6th is that 5-run inning. And it starts out with a 1-out double by Jazz Chisholm Jr. off of Noah Cameron. And it's a 2-out rally from there. Chisholm Jr. steals third. And this is where there was a situation. We're going to talk a little bit about Jazz here. He got mad at Maikel Garcia. He really shouldn't have. And Jazz is kind of public enemy number 1 of Kansas City fans after comments that he made last year in the playoffs. I like Jazz's enthusiasm. I do, but and I know with Maikel Garcia, there was a little bit of a skirmish last year with Volpe on a slide, but Garcia's just trying to tag him. He didn't do anything, but Jazz would actually leave the game with neck tightness. I digress, though. LeMahieu walks, and it leads to a first and third spot. Was it first and third? Yes. First and third for Austin Wells, and he does it again. Another amazing at bat, this time off of variety. It's a 10-pitch at bat, and it's a 2-run double to make it 7-1. So 5 RBIs for Austin Wells. If he's going to be producing at the bottom of the lineup, then that is going to make this Yankee team that much stronger. Eventually, you get a Trent Grisham RBI single to make it 8-1, an Aaron Judge RBI single to make it 9-1, and a Cody Bellinger RBI single to make it 10-1. So again, think about all the 2-out RBIs in this game. 3 in the 4th, and then 5 in the 6th. That's demoralizing to a team, not to mention it's a blowout. Jonathan India hits his 3rd homer of the year. It's off of Fried to make it 10-2 in the bottom of the 6th, but again, it would be 7 brilliant innings by Max Fried, and then from there, it would be a combination of Yeri De Los Santos and Tim Hill. De Los Santos really wasn't honestly great. He should have finished out the game, but he threw too many pitches. He threw 40 pitches in an inning and two-thirds, so Tim Hill had to come on and get the last out. And Tim Hill has really, besides that hit allowed to Duran on Sunday Night Baseball, he has been just magnificent in bases loaded situations. And he's able to get Tyler Tolbert to fly out, and the Yankees win 10-2. Game two, um, which was another pretty impressive performance by the Yankees. Got a little bit interesting at the end, which we'll discuss. But game two, Clarke Schmidt, a a nice bounce back outing. Not that he was bad against the Guardians, but he got off to a rough start in that one. And so Clarke Schmidt gets the win. 3-3 is now his record. 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, and 7 strikeouts. ERA drops down to 3.60, so that's improving for Clarke Schmidt. Um, you know, again, it hasn't been like an amazing season for Schmidt, but he also, he had the injury to start. Like he's finding his groove slowly but surely. You know, albeit some inconsistencies, here and there that I think there's a few starts that you think back to that he'd want to do a little bit better in. Like I think about the Colorado one as well. It's not as if he got bombed, but he wasn't great in that one. For Kansas City, here's the real impressive part for the Yankees. Chris Bubich, who has been one of the best pitchers in baseball, he loses. He goes he drops to 5-4, 4 and a third innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks, 3 strikeouts. His ERA is actually 1.92. And with him, he also kind of struggled against the Yankees early in the year. So you take out the 2 Yankee outings, this guy's ERA is, microscopic. So, credit to the Yankees. And again, it was Dominguez was the odd man out of this lineup. And I feel as if he is probably going to be hard pressed for playing time. Like I still as much as I don't think it's totally deserved. And, even his defense, hasn't been glaringly awful lately. Doesn't mean I'm confident in it, but it has not been bad, to be fair, of late. But I do think that push comes to shove because Trent Grisham in this particular game 2, was great defensively in center field. Made a couple of really, really nice catches, some that were ruled incorrectly on the field originally by the umps, but review overturned some of them. And so, that's going to help Grisham's cause to get in the lineup over, let's say, Dominguez. But again, I suppose it's a good problem to have. So the second inning is your 5-run inning. And a lot of it happens with 2 outs. However, to start out, it's a Cody Bellinger triple. The great thing about Cody Bellinger is when he hits into the gaps, that triples are very possible. That is not something I would have ever thought with Cody Bellinger, leading him to him being a Yankee, right? Like, I know some of his skill set. I know his defensive versatility, but it's just hard not to be impressed by the little things that Cody Bellinger does. And it's not as if his numbers are really eye-popping, but he got off to such a slow start that the fact that he's up to 260 with a 786 OPS is pretty good. So Jazz Chisholm Jr. walks, and he got kind of lucky on that one. There should have been a strike 3 that wasn't called. He walks. Volpe gets an RBI ground out, kind of beats the double play. Then after a Grisham ground out, it's a LeMahieu walk, and Austin Wells is at it again. It's an RBI double for Austin Wells, lefty again, to make it 2-0 Yanks. Then a 2-run single by Paul Goldschmidt. And that's a good thing, too. Paul Goldschmidt got better as the series went on. I felt like he was trending downward, but now I'm starting to feel a little bit better about Goldie as far as what he did here in this series. So a big 2-run single for Goldschmidt. And then Ben Rice gets in on the act with an RBI single to make it 5-0. Ben Rice continues to be snake bit. I feel like he's hitting the ball well, but he's really not having a whole lot to show for it. And so his numbers are getting worse, but the eye test feels like it's better than the numbers. So 5-0 Yanks. That would be the score at the end of the inning. Another 5-run inning for the Yankees. And then Clarke Schmidt just settles in, really. And again, helped by some good defense as well. Defense was a calling card in a good way. Again, we will talk about some sloppiness that occurs in the 9th inning, but mostly good defense for the Yanks. Jazz Chisholm Jr., I will say, him at third base, there's things that he needs to learn. And I do wonder, as far as LeMahieu at second, Chisholm Jr. at third, that's what makes sense for right now. What will it be when it's all said and done? Let's say come playoff time, it could be completely different as far as, will it be LeMahieu? Will Jazz be at third? I think the Yankees need to be open to all possibilities. And speaking of that, sounds like Ben Rice might actually do some catching when Stanton returns, which I'm all for that. I kind of feel bad for Ascara because I feel like he might be the one that kind of loses time most. But look, like if that's the way to get Rice is bat in the lineup, you do it. So again, you want to see that flexibility, that versatility, but you also want it to be effective as well. And so with Jazz at third, I see a little bit of more mental mistakes than physical, if anything. Anyway, though, um, let's jump ahead, and I'm probably skipping some good defense because I am. I mean, actually, DJ LeMahieu was actually robbed in the fifth by Michael Garcia, which led to a double play. But Bubic ends up being taken out in that fifth. Like I said, Schmidt goes 6 innings, and Aaron Judge is at it again. Steven Cruz, the reliever, comes on, and Judge greets him with a home run, 25th home run of the year. He's now one behind Cal Raleigh for league lead in the home run department. Judge's batting average sits at, well, let's see, probably around 392 to lead the series with a 1264 OPS, which is just fucking ridiculous. So 6-0 Yankees. Brent Hedrick comes on, pitches a scoreless seventh inning, um, gets an out in the eighth, and then there's a double by Jonathan India, so Fernando Cruz comes on. Fernando Cruz faces Bobby Witt, and it's a great sliding catch by Grisham. Truly tremendous. And originally it was not ruled a catch, but replay showed that it clearly was. And so Cruz ends up finishing the inning after he gets Michael Garcia to ground out. Then the bottom ninth is where things get a little bit dicey. Not a great series for Mark Leiter Jr., who had really been, in my opinion, one of the most relied upon relievers in the bullpen. But now I leave the series, not thinking that as much. But also, it's a little bit of him being unlucky too. Pasquantino gets a single on a pop-up that should have either been caught by Peraza or Austin Wells, and it wasn't. And so, you get an unnecessary start for Kansas City. Probably should have been Peraza's ball, but Sal Perez, the next batter, hits a 2-run shot off of Leiter Jr. His sixth homer of the year makes it 6-2. Then after a Caglione ground out, it's a Nick Lofton infield single. No one's fault. Nice try by Peraza. It didn't work. And then John Rave gets a ground. It's an infield single on a play that Mark Leiter Jr. messes up. He tries to backhand it, doesn't field it cleanly. Then he chases after it, throws it, and it goes away. Leiter Jr. definitely not a great fielding pitcher. And so, again, not good defense by Leiter Jr., by Peraza. Well, like just overall a sloppy inning. And look, not for nothing, Leiter Jr. does give a home run in the middle of that as well. So what ends up after that Rave single is it's 6-3, first and second. No, what is it? 6-3 runner on second, one out, and Devin Williams comes in for the save chance, which didn't appear likely, but he comes on and strikes out Mark Canha and gets Jonathan India to ground out. So it's Devin Williams' 8th save of the season. And we'll talk about Devin Williams again in the next game, where he would be used in a big spot. So game 3, I'm looking at this, knowing what the lineup is with no Judge and no Jazz and no LeMahieu, and you got Pablo Reyes in there, and it's not a great looking lineup. I'm thinking, look, Royals are due to beat the Yankees. It's going to happen. The Yankees win the game 1-0, which I think they said was their 4th 1-0 win of the season, which is crazy. But Will Warren, a great start for Will Warren. 5 2/3 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 4 strikeouts for Will, which is nice. Really bouncing back after that horrible Dodgers start. Red Sox won, he was good, and then kind of ran out of gas. Here, he pitched well and actually came out after a shortened, probably less than 30-minute rain delay. He actually came back out. So very impressive for him. Pitch count was low. So Will Warren, he is definitely someone that is going to stay in this rotation. Even when Luis Hill comes back, I see no reason why Warren would lose that spot, but a lot can change. But I will say that, you take away that bad Dodge routing, and it's done a really nice job lately. So Seth Lugo, and again, Warren with the scoreless outing gets the no decision. For the Royals, Seth Lugo, he gets a no decision as well. He pitched well. 5 2/3 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts is not a good ratio, but again, only 2 hits allowed, and I think it was just 2 singles. So Lugo limiting the damage in a pretty big way. But yeah, like not a lot to speak of really for the Royals. The Royals had the better of the chances. Second inning, they have a first and second no out spot, and then Jack Caglione, the rookie, grounds into double play, and so Warren's able to kind of weave out of that one. Then the fifth is where it gets interesting, where Nick Lofton, it's a one out triple. Infield in, Freddie Fermin grounds out to Volpe, and then Kyle Isbell grounds out to Pablo Reyes. In the sixth is actually one of the better Yankee chances where out of the rain delay, Angel Serpa, the lefty, comes on to face Cody Bellinger with first and second, two out, and a nice catch by Kyle Isbell in center field to rob Bellinger of an RBI hit. Then Tim Hill was the one that actually finished out the sixth inning, getting past Quintino to ground out. Seventh inning was actually really nice defense. Volpe makes a great play in the hole on Sal Perez. Pablo Reyes makes a really nice play at second base to get out Jack Caglione. And then after a Nick Lofton walk, they bring on Mark Leiter Jr. He allows a single, but then gets Kyle Isbell a fly out. So Leiter Jr. did not look great. He actually ends up with the win. He picks up his fourth win of the season because in the top of the eighth, off of Lucas Ursig, who is really one of the best relievers in the game. Like last year he was, and this year too. But the Yankees have had success off of Ursig from what I can remember last year. And it would actually be Pablo Reyes, and again, what could maybe be like his last game or last action as a Yank, gets a leadoff single. Aaron Judge pinch hits for Peraza and strikes out looking. It certainly could have been called ball four, but it was not, which was frustrating. Then a Grisham ground out gets Reyes over to second, Ben Rice walk, and so it leads to first and second, two out, and Paul Goldschmidt hits a line drive off the glove of Pasquantino. And Pablo Reyes is racing, around third and going home, but he stumbles. And so it becomes a situation that luckily for the Yankees, Pasquantino's initial reaction is to go to first and try to get Goldschmidt out, but he was safe. And by the time they threw home, Reyes was able to gather himself and slide in safely. Yes, Everett showed a play of Jack Cuss from years ago back in Baltimore, back in 2003, because that's the one year there and Boone was on the Yanks as a player, on a play that was embarrassing for Cuss, where I basically fell down but it also kind of reminded me of a little bit was Enrique Wilson in the 1998 ALCS, the play that Chuck Knobloch let the ball go by and Enrique Wilson just kind of stumbling home. It's a little bit different, but Pablo Reyes almost ended up being, you know, crucified by Yankee Nation, but then he ends up being the hero. So, in only Pablo Reyes form, he does score to give the Yankees a 1-0 lead. We go to the bottom of the eighth. Jonathan Loaizaga with a really nice 1-2-3 inning with 3 groundouts. That's big because Loaizaga gave up a couple of home runs in his last outing against the Red Sox. So good to see Loaizaga, who's going to be relied upon, do that. And then let's go to the bottom of the ninth. Bottom of the ninth, it's Devin Williams, and he gets a 1-2-3 inning, Pasquantino, Sal Perez, and he strikes out Jack Caglione. So it's back-to-back saves for Devin Williams, his 9th save of the season. That's big for me, for him to get that save in a 1-run game. I like seeing that. Do I still get nervous when he's in there? Yes, I do. But I like it. Now, I guess the problem as far as usage, because Devin Williams unnecessarily pitched game 2, again, that should have never happened in a 6-0 game, that might leave him unavailable, possibly for the Friday game against the Red Sox. Now, to be fair, his pitch count was pretty low in both games, so maybe if they needed him, he's in there. I think Leiter Jr. will certainly be unavailable. He pitched both games here, so Yankees bullpen going in kind of light into game 1. But for me, I think this game's going to be tough to win anyway. The matchup is a rematch of game 2 at Yankee Stadium. Ryan Yarbrough against Garrett Crochet. Now, you hope Yarbrough does better than he did last game, but you also expect Crochet to do better than he did last game. Don't feel great about this matchup, again, given where I see the bullpen as being a little bit thinner, with the Red Sox having had a day off going into this game. Red Sox coming off of winning 2 of 3 home against the Rays. As I think I might have mentioned last episode, Roman Anthony was in fact called up. The young prospect for the Boston Red Sox. So we'll be seeing some new faces for Boston. Still no Alex Bregman, so the Yankees catch that break there. Game 2 will be a rematch of Sunday Night Baseball. Carlos Rodon against Hunter Dobbins. And so, of course, there's the Hunter Dobbins storyline about how he would retire before, signing with the Yankees. And Rodon will look to bounce back after a great start, but then it ended out poorly. And then game 3 will be Max Fried's first start as a Yankee versus the Red Sox. And that one will be against Brian Bayo. The Yankees have seen a lot of Brian Bayo over the years. That is a matchup that, you don't hate. Although, look, let's see how Fried does. He did struggle against the Dodgers. This is a different animal, but it's the Yankees' biggest rival. And Fenway Park's a tough place to play. So, I'm curious to see what happens there. So it should be a very interesting series. Really want to win 2 out of 3 after what happened at Yankee Stadium the past weekend. Also understanding that game 1 on paper is gonna be tough for the Yankees to win, but we'll see what happens. As far as Jazz Chisholm Jr. is concerned, I wouldn't be surprised if he's still maybe not in the starting lineup for game 1 against Crochet. Just the hunch, but he sounds like he's fine because it was groin tightness that led to him leaving game 2 and then led to him subsequently not playing game 3 of the Kansas City series. So will Giancarlo Stanton be activated? We'll find out. I think it's possible, even if it's not for game 1, maybe at some point in the series. Be nice to have him with that green monster. But we'll see. But this should be a good one. Red Sox, I think their kind of vibe is increasing. I think they probably feel as if, all right, like they're getting on a little bit of a roll here. In what is, like I said, a pretty wide open wild card race in the American League. So Yankees improved to 42-25. They sweep the Royals again. They kind of continue their dominance over the Kansas City Royals. And now they will complete their road trip as they will head to Boston to go to Fenway Park for the first time this season and look to exact a little bit of revenge after losing to the Red Sox last weekend. So looking forward to that. And, the Yankees should feel good about themselves after going 6-0 this season against the Kansas City Royals.